Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Right, we move to another skills in this course, which is reading, and today I'm going to explain to you a few reading skills and also strategies. What are strategies that you need to take when you read so that you can read effectively. Okay, for today's lesson, we are going to discuss about the definition of reading. Okay, I'll touch a little bit of format in Muay, okay, in reading. And also, I will discuss a few strategies or skills in the reading. First, we look at scanning, and then we have skimming. Uh, Next is inferencing or making inference, and last is contextual clues. Right, I would like to compare you. I need you to compare both video 1 and video 2. Alright, and then I want you to identify which one is considered as effective reading or what is reading in the real world. Okay, so the first video is
Our class is a family, a literally cultured read aloud. Written by Shannon Olson, illustrated by Sandy Sonk. When you think of a family, you might picture one in a house. A mom, a dad, a couple of kids, plus their dogs and a pet mouse. Perhaps you think of grandma or a stepmom and stepdad. It could be those 14 cousins or that twin who makes.
alright. For the next video, okay, I would like to show you this one.
Is a reading technique which is done by looking at the most important details of a text in a quick manner. Skimming, just like scanning, is also a speed type of reading that focuses on the main idea or general overview of a text. Intensive reading requires readers to read and familiarize even the smallest details of a text, since a task is going to be accomplished after reading. Lastly, extensive reading is done for fun and pastime, and is loose and comfortable since no task or output is expected after reading.
Right, so for the first video, seems like a storytelling where you just read word by word, right? But maybe you don't understand the word and so on. Okay, and the second video, we talk about the skills and the strategies on how you can actually read effectively. So which one is considered as reading? Right, to answer the question which one is reading, we need to look at the definition of reading. So what is reading? First, reading is an active process of constructing meaning of word. Secondly, right, with the purpose help the reader can direct the information towards a goal and focuses of the attention. Mean you don't need to read every single word to understand. Okay, there are strategies and so on. Alright, it is a receptive skill like listening rather than productive writing and speaking because we cannot see tangibly. Okay, for example, when the teacher instruct, okay, please read. Okay, you may read silently. Alright, you don't actually read loud, but you read silently. And how to know whether you read or not? When we try to test your understanding onto the text and so on, so we know you actually read. And then it is actually different with a read aloud where teachers, parents and caregivers read text loud to the children. This is, I think, we did it when we in the primary or maybe secondary school, or maybe we do some sort of call speaking, when you read aloud all together. Okay, so in conclusion, we can say that the first video is actually read aloud and the second video is actually the reading. Okay, the real reading, or we can say is effective reading. You don't need to read loudly. Okay, maybe you read silently and you don't need to read every single word when you try to understand the whole text. Right, to understand how we can read effectively, there are two theories behind it. Okay, first we talk about bottom-up processing. It's not theory, but the process. How do you actually read? First is bottom-up processing, and second is top-down processing. Okay, bottom-up is what we done, especially we in primary or secondary school, where you still remember, what the teachers try to expose or introduce you with the words, and he or she explain the meaning of the words, and then try to put in the text or in the sentences, right? And then he try to explain how these words relate to each other. Okay, the one is bottom up, or maybe a very simple explanation where when we try to understand the text, we will look up from the dictionary each word. Okay, when you try to find the meaning, whether in Bahasa or in English, right? So that one is, we call it bottom-up processing. Okay, but top-down, when you use top-down processing, all right, you don't look at every single word. Okay, maybe you just look at the title of the reading, or you just highlight the key point or important point in the reading text. Then you might guess what the message you can get from the text, and you try to understand from that process. That one, we call it top down. Okay, so the combination between bottom up and top down is considered as the best, uh, and is an effective reading skill. I will show you a few texts, and I want you to use whether top down or bottom up. Okay, the first text is, right? Okay, from that text, okay, do you read every single word to understand the text? Okay, maybe yes, maybe no, right? If you use bottom up, you need to find every single word, the meaning of a single word, especially if you don't know the words. All right, but if you use top down, you just look maybe at the pictures, the pictures of fish. You look at the title being a fish. All right, you look at maybe the important point, important word, and you try to highlight, and you look at the first sentence and the last sentence in paragraph, and you try to guess. Okay, this text may be talking about the life of a fish, okay, because of being a fish. All right, so I can say, if you want to read effectively, or if you want to read faster, okay, you can use top down rather than bottom up. But then look at this picture of this tag. Okay, can you tell me what you know about this tag? Okay, if you want to use top down, is it applicable for that situation, for this situation? Okay, I don't think so, especially when you don't know the Tamil. Okay, because maybe we don't have any experience learning other languages apart from our mother tongue, okay, or English. Okay, unless if you have a knowledge, then you can use top down. So that's why it's very important to combine between top down and bottom up when you want to become effective reader. So for the second text, mostly you have to use bottom up, because of we don't know nothing about this language, so we need to look at every word and learn the system and so on before we do the analysis and so on. Okay, that's why. But for the first tag, yes, you can use top down, because I uh, I expect that all of you are familiar with English, so you can use a more advanced one. So I said, combination between top down and bottom up is very is the best. Okay, if you want to be an effective reader. Okay, overall, this is actually the flow of reading approaches or reading theories. Sorry, reading processing. Like I said, if you want to be interactive or effective reader, you have to combine both top down and bottom up. Sometimes we need to use bottom up first and then top down. Sometimes we need to use top down first and then bottom up. Or sometimes we can actually solely use top down or solely use bottom up. Depend on the goal of our reading activities. All right. For example, maybe when we teach in the primary school where students just we want to introduce the system of the language, so we might use more bottom up. Then when they getting better, then the teacher can use top down, right? But then if we teach in a college or university, because we want to produce the effective reader, okay, so basically we can use top down first and then bottom up. Mean we teach you on how to use the correct strategies in reading, because we want you to get the understanding faster and better. Then you can use top down, and then if you still don't understand, then we can actually use bottom up. So up to you, and up to you on how to use these approaches. Okay, the first skill that I'm going to touch is actually the easiest one, which is scanning. Okay, commonly used in everyday life. For example, when we look up at the dictionary or finding your friend's name in the directory, all right, on the phone, maybe you want to read, you want to find a specific information when you read newspaper, for example, that one we call scanning. Mean we do that thing every day in our daily life. All right. So scanning can be defined as a quick reading to find a specific piece of information. All right. So the benefit of scanning are, we can seek specific information required from reading text quickly and efficiently, to explore the many pages of the book in a short time, and we do not waste the time wasted looking for something to be desired from the book. It's very good technique, because we just look at the specific information, but then it doesn't actually improve your understanding yet, but just to find the information, specific information from the text. All right, and then in scanning, I think the most important thing is to know how do you scan effectively. Okay, so we have to look at the movement or the flow of your eyes. How do you move your eyes over the text? Okay, in a normal way, okay, we usually move from left to right, okay, like in the first picture. Okay, but when you scan, when you try to find a specific information, the flow is free, like picture number 2. All right, because we want to find a specific information. For example, you want to find the name, date, rather than you read the entire text. Okay, and you want to answer a certain question when for example, in the test or in the exam. Right, to look on how scanning activities can be done or can be used in your reading activities. Okay, I show you the first one is the customer request and question. All right, for example, number 1, I am from Egypt. When I come to visit Malaysia, blah blah blah. All right, so you have to suggest restaurants that I put on my left side here, sorry, on my right side. Okay, we have Al Marjan Cafe, we have Seafood Paradise, and then we have Tamarind Hill, and last is Yoko's. So I want you to actually match, okay, based on the customer request. Okay, and try to use scanning. I mean, you just find the specific information from my favorite restaurants, and then try to find the answer and put on the box. Okay, okay, please do it as quick as possible. Okay, for example, number 1. Okay, so which restaurant you suggest to this customer? Okay, definitely it's Al Marjan Cafe, right? So we just look at the menu, all right, and then maybe the location, right? And then what about number 2? He said, my family, I don't like to eat meat. So don't eat meat is actually the key point there. But they are not vegetarian, okay? They are Muslim and need halal food. So which restaurant you would suggest? Yes, seafood paradise, because they just offer you seafood, no meat, and seafood paradise is actually halal. It actually mentioned in the advertisement there. All right. What about number three? Okay, spicy soup. Okay, Thai's menu, tom yum. So which restaurant would you suggest to these customer? Okay, confirm is actually Tamarind Hill. Is stated there. Okay, because it talk about Thai and Vietnamese cuisine. Okay, so it actually uh, very suitable to the third customer. Okay, the fourth customer is said that we are American, but we like to eat Japanese food. So Japanese food is actually the menu. So which restaurant do you think is suitable for these customer? Right, Yokos. We just look at the menu. We don't read the whole words in that directory or in that advertisement. Okay, number five. Okay, the keyword here is the customer liked the decoration, and he liked or she liked the old traditional Malay heritage as part of the decoration. So which restaurant would you suggest to this customer? Right, Tamarind Hill. Okay, it's very obvious because it say the house in a renovated bungalow that show the rural charm of old Malaya. So it's very suitable to the fifth customer. And for the last customer, he or she requests that I don't really care about the food outlet as long as it's very near to my office in Ampang. So the location is important. We look at the location. We just read, the address of each outlet. So Ampang situated in, sorry, the restaurant which is situated in Ampang is, yes, Tamarind Hill. So this actually scanning you can do actually as quick as you can. We just look at specific information. Okay, for example, first customer until number one until number four, we focus on the menu of each in the directory. But number five and six, first we look at the decoration or the outlet itself, and number six is the location of restaurant. So we just focus on that. This is what we call, we scan the information from the text. We don't read every single word. Okay, same goes. This is actually more challenging because of you have text and we have certain information that you have to find. Okay, I guess I will do in class, in face-to-face class next week, right? Because of, I think this is I need to test whether you understand or not in using scanning. Okay, but then again, you don't look at the text first, but you look at the question first, which is on the my right side. Okay, so you look at the host, date, defending champion, okay, the date of place of draw for final, what is the mascot, okay, description of the mascot, what's the name of the ball used in FIFA World Cup, sorry, in FIFA World Cup, and then the number of languages used, official languages, and then national team involved in the qualification process, and last is countries which involved in all African bidding process. So you actually focus on the keyword here and you try to find from the text. You don't read every single word. Okay, we will discuss it in class, inshallah, next week. All right, the next skill, and also important, we call it skimming. Yeah, skimming is a little bit maybe I can say more difficult than scanning because of you have to go through certain process, rather than you just find the specific information. In skimming, first you have to read the title, the main title of the text. Then if you still don't get the whole message of the text, maybe you can look at the first paragraph of the introduction and try to find maybe the the goal of the reading text, okay, what they want to tell you about. All right, if it still don't help you to understand, maybe you can look at the first sentence of each paragraph, mean the topic sentence, or maybe you can look at the heading or subheading, or maybe there are pictures, graph, or charts. or maybe italicized or hold-filled phrases or words. Okay, it might tell you something important. All right. Look at the important pieces of information like name, date, and event. This is actually like scanning in that technique. And also, you also read the summary of the last paragraph carefully, because in the summary it will tell you something important. I mean something what is actually the conclusion. So basically it will tell in the conclusion. Okay, so that's why I said scanning might take a long process compared to scanning. Okay, to differentiate between skimming and scanning, right? Skimming is actually when you want to look at important information without reading the whole text, but scanning when you want to find the answer, specific or right there question. Okay, for example, you say I was like, what is the name of what is the name of footballer, right? So you just find the name, or when the games happen. Okay, the game held. So you look at the date of the match of a football, for example. Yeah. Okay. Skimming preview text features. All right, but for scanning, you find a keyword or number in question. Okay, text features mean maybe you look at the heading or subheading or the title or the pictures associated in the text at the italicized word. But scanning, you have a word that you have to find. The important or the keyword that you have to find. Okay. In skimming, you have to read the first sentence in each paragraph, but in scanning, you move your eyes freely. Okay, based on the words you want to find. Okay, but skimming usually you move your eyes from left to right. In English. Okay, for skimming, it answers the question like who, what, when, where, and why, and how. Usually in the reading comprehension, we need to use skim, but for scan, uh, it answer around the keyword. Okay, like I said, the specific information they want to find. Very specific, but skimming maybe more general. Right, the next one is actually if inferencing or making inference. Okay, to know easily what is inference. Inference is what you read plus what you know, and then you can infer. So what you read is what you read means you use quote from the text and not page number for future reference. So what do you read? You can read anything with the knowledge that you can get the input you get from the text, and plus what I know is actually your experience, your background knowledge, or you can say your schemata or your previous knowledge. Okay, uh, it can be anything. Yeah, maybe the text tell you something that you can relate. Okay, based on your experience, and then you can infer is like you give your opinion. Okay, put two and two together and make a conclusion about the story. So usually inferencing help us to answer this kind of question. For example, the writer implying that, implying mean making inference, or the advice given in paragraph 2 suggests that, or as the writer could be described as when you try to describe or explain the quality of the writer. Or maybe you can ask it help you to answer question what conclusion you could draw from last paragraph. Okay, so you have to relate or you have to combine what you read and also what you know, I mean your experience in your life. Okay, this is actually a very classic example of how you can make inference. Okay, so it says in the book said that Goldilocks sit in the baby chair even though she is not a baby. All right, and then I say mean your experience or maybe your prior knowledge said I say that I know baby chair is very small. Okay, because it's not mentioned in the text, but okay, because of you used to see a baby chair and not meant for big kids like Goldilocks because they weigh too much. So I infer, okay, in my opinion, you can conclude that since Goldilocks is too heavy for the baby chair, it breaks. Okay, because the chair is small and the lock is a bigger case, so it don't actually it will cause the chair to break. Okay, so it's actually and how you can infer. Okay, and it don't mention in that you have to make your own conclusion. And last skill or strategy that I'm going to discuss with you is actually guessing meaning from context, or you might say contextual clues. Okay, actually, these strategies help you to find the sentence, the information from the sentence, paragraph, passage that can give hint to understand the meaning of a new or unfamiliar words. Okay, so you can conclude that these strategies is helpful in knowing the certain word that you maybe don't understand. Okay, by not looking at the dictionary for sure. Okay, the clues may appear within the same sentence as the word to which it refers, or it may follow the next sentence, maybe in the sentence, in the same sentence, in the next sentence, or maybe in other paragraph. All right, in Moet, of course, you need to use a contextual clues such as, okay, this is actually the example of question. The word figuratively in the third paragraph can be replaced with, so in Moet, they will give you A, B, C, D. So what is the synonym of figuratively? And of course, in exam, you cannot look up from the dictionary. You have to guess the meaning from the information given. Sometimes the synonym is given there, yeah, whether in the same sentence or in another sentence. All right. The phrase "thou art" in line 25. Sometimes you don't use the English word. Thou art is actually French. You have to guess the meaning from that. And which word below can best substitute cranky? Okay, you might know or you might not know about this word. Okay, and your own definition might be wrong. So that's why we need to teach you on how to find the meaning from the context. Right, how to guess the meaning from context? There are a few techniques. Okay, this is actually the technique. First is we look at from the definition. Okay, for example, Mr. Fry is an verbal principle. So we don't know the meaning of a verbal, and you are required to find the meaning of a verbal. All right, and then he said he is pleasantly easy to approach and always friendly. So the definition of a verbal is given on the next sentence after the word Mr. Fry is an verbal principle. So a verbal means pleasantly easy to approach and always friendly. Okay. Sometimes they use synonym. For example, Mr. Fry is quite affable. In fact, he reminds me of Miss Becca. Do you remember how kind she was? So affable is synonym with kind. So you can say kind is affable and affable is kind. Okay, they are two similar words. All right. The next one, sometimes they use antonym. Okay, I miss Mr. Fry. Our new principal is cranky and unapproachable. Mr. Fry was verbal. Okay, so we know the meaning on cranky or unapproachable is something you cannot approach easily. So a verbal is actually the opposite of that meaning, cranky and approachable. And the fourth strategies is you use example. Mr. Fry is an affable principal. Okay, he knows everybody's name if you have a problem and talks to him. So it is described by using example given on detail. So you can actually conclude from that a verbal can be described as, verbal meanings can be, you can say she is very friendly, maybe open-minded, easy to be approached, and so on. And sometimes you use inferent, remember inferent, where you combine between what you know in your experience and what you read in the text. Okay, so you don't need to worry about talking to Mr. Fry. He is an verbal principle. Okay, so the hint given in whether in definition, synonym, antonym, example, or maybe inference is very useful. And for these strategies, you are not actually allowed to use any dictionary to find the meaning of the word, or maybe Google Translator and so on. So the conclusion of our lessons video today, okay, first is scanning is very useful to find specific information in which you need to not to read all the words in within text. Okay, this is very important, especially when we talk about speed reading or reading in a faster way. Okay, skimming can be used to find a main idea of the whole text paragraph by looking at the maybe title, heading, subheading, topic sentence, pictures, graph, charts, and so on. And you don't read every single word in the text, and you still can understand the message or the information from the text. Okay, this is very useful, especially when you have uh, longer long of text, long text. Uh, Making inference is when you make assumption or prediction by understanding the situation given and what you know or experience. It's actually what you read, the input you get, and you combine with the your prior knowledge, or you call it experience, or your knowledge. Then you make a conclusion from that. Okay, you still remember the Goldilocks example that I gave you? It's very easy example of that. Okay, and then last is a guessing meaning from the context can be done through several techniques. We discussed about using example, using definition, synonym, antonym, and inference. Okay, guys, I think that's it from today lesson. Okay, see you on the face-to-face class. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.